Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Braden, Tim, Second Legacy. You are amazing. And today we are going to talk about something. This could be the unraveling, the final nail in the coffin, the one step that we've needed to take SCOTUS up on the AR ban situation. It might happen, it might not. I'll be honest with you, but we're going to walk through it right now. Everything will be linked. Of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. And with that said, humor and sarcasm deployed in a two-way fashion for you right now. Around Maryland gun bans, expecting before SCOTUS. What you think, Tim?
Yeah. Well, look, it's time for the Supreme Court to actually do something with this. I mean, it's
profound, Tim.
I know, right? Yeah. It just.
See.
It just. Look, it is long past due for the Supreme Court to do something about this because it's been going on in multiple states for years now, and so I think now, of course, I mean, we've explained how the Supreme Court works in the past, right? There's so many things that are required before a case even makes it to the Supreme Court. It's very rare for them to get there. And though it's even more rare is for the Supreme Court to actually accept a case. The vast majority of cases never get heard. And so I understand that they were probably waiting for the right case, kind of like Chevron. They've been debating whether or not to handle that for years, but they were just waiting for the right case that would allow them to rule on it. And do so in a meaningful way. And they found that. So maybe we're finally getting there with the AR bans and various bans. So we'll see.
Well, we will see. And that's kind of what we're going to walk through right now is there's speculation that this is the case they've been waiting for because there's a little bit of history here. Remember, guys, they had the Maryland case for AR bans. They had the Illinois case for AR bans, and they pushed them all back down to lower courts. Well, if you recall, last week, Maryland came down and said, the assault weapons ban is perfectly constitutional, and they didn't remand it back down. They made a final judgment on it, which sets it up for potential SCOTUS.
Right.
Now, if you guys will recall, the prior issues that the SCOTUS had with this was the courts haven't taken the proper steps to get it to the point where we would actually intervene. This is now that final step. There's nothing beyond this. Right. That's the important piece. So let me show you what we're talking about here. As I mentioned in the introduction, number one, Maryland's gun ban law expected before SCOTUS ahead of Illinois. So the Bianchi case would be pulling ahead here. This is number two. A challenge against Maryland's gun ban is likely to make it to the Supreme Court before gun ban challenges from other states. As I just mentioned, the Fourth Circuit on Tuesday, the Court of Appeals, upheld Maryland's ban on semi-automatic firearms. This is a quote that this will be the problem. The assault weapons at issue fall outside the ambit of protection offered by the Second Amendment because, in essence, courts love that. They are military-style weapons designed for sustained combat operations that are ill-suited and disproportionate to the need for self-defense. The opinion stated. Tim, did you know that they, in essence, they're military-style weapons for sustained combat operations?
Yeah, sustained.
What the F does that mean?
Right. But you know what they're fine with is the 1903 Springfield, which was designed at the turn of the century, the 1900s, for sustained military operations with bolt-action rifles and trenches.
It's so stupid.
I know.
And pistols.
And if you go back in time,
1911.
right? I mean, David and Goliath. I've used that example before too. A slingshot is literally a military weapon of old, and
sustained military weapon,
and it was designed for sustained combat operations in the desert, in the Gov Desert.
Yeah.
It's just this is just absolute idiocy here, and you can tell that the activist judges in the Fourth Circuit are just thumbing their noses at the Supreme Court, and this should get their attention because this is so hilariously out of context and so poorly worded and clearly antagonistic by its design that it's going to draw the ire of the justices. And it only needs how many justices does it require for them to pick a case up? Like 4 or 5? I can't remember.
I think it's a simple majority, or it's 4. I don't remember the exact number, but it can't be. It's not like 2,
right? Yeah,
it's not the full court, but I think it's a simple majority want to hear it. But I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that.
So we'll see.
But it's not the full court, to your point. Yeah. To your point, it's not the full court. Hey, you remember like 2 weeks ago, Tim? Like ancient history in the current news cycle. For all we know, 2 weeks from now, Kamala Harris could not be the candidate. I don't freaking know.
She will be.
But I know that.
They've spent way too much time and money manufacturing the Manchurian candidate to throw it away now.
That's true. I'm just mocking the speed of which we're dealing with. One week the guy Trump gets shot. The next week Kamala Harris is going to win every single state with no contest. I mean, like, Comet 2024. Like, good Lord. Anyway.
Yeah. Then she nominates a door gunner for the space shuttle that did sustained combat operations with his AR-15 on Mars.
He did some good door gunning.
Yeah.
He did some great door gunning.
Yeah.
He was those asteroids had nothing. But anyway, so remember when New Jersey, way back in yesteryear, said the AR-15 was perfectly protected by the Second Amendment from the Bruin decision and the Heller decision? Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was like 2 weeks ago. So now you got conflicting opinions. You know how they love those.
Yeah, that kind of sets the stage for the SCOTUS to step in.
A little bit. Just a smidgen. Just a smidgen. Well, here's how it's going to get there because FPC's involved and they give no Fs and take no prisoners. This is number 3. By the way, follow that Twitter account. Hilarious. Since the appeals court didn't kick the case back down to the lower courts, plaintiffs say they will now appeal to the SCOTUS. Quote, we will be filing a petition for cert at the Supreme Court as this case presents an excellent vehicle for the court to settle this debate once and for all, Second Amendment Foundation Executive Director Adam Kraut said. Sorry, that's SAF. I apologize. Yep. That is SAF. Also a great person to follow. Give them both equal credit. So for this, I think this is the key word here is excellent vehicle for the court to settle it. Yep. Excellent vehicle. That's what they've been with. That's what you were talking about.
Right. They're trying to find that case that will put this issue to bed. And this could be it.
100%.
Because, and I want to thank the Fourth Circuit, if this actually makes it to the Supreme Court, for being a bunch of idiots and doing that, because finally, and this goes to kind of something we're saying. I'm making an assumption here that the Supreme Court's going to take up the case. But we always talk about how these gun grabbers are constantly painting themselves into corners and slamming doors in their own faces. Mm-hmm. And this is another perfect example of activist judges literally purposely antagonizing the Supreme Court, challenging them, I think, to rule on this, because maybe they know that there's a bunch of political strife going on out there where people are saying they want to impose term limits, they want to stack the court and all this other stuff. Maybe they're playing to that, thinking, if they give this ruling, that's definitely going to better our political agenda here of getting the Supreme Court with their term limits and all that other nonsense that's been going on as of late. So who knows what the motivations are here?
Right, but the bottom line is you are correct. But think about this from the Maryland judges, right? From their perspective. Well, if I say what's true and the fact that this is blatantly unconstitutional, I'm going to lose my job because they're going to impeach me in the state of Maryland and they're going to remove me from office. But if I violate the Constitution and I do what the state level powers that be want, then it goes to the SCOTUS and that undermines gun controllers everywhere nationally over 20 years that'll be destroyed. That's a hard decision.
Yeah. Save my own rear end or, pass the buck and destroy everybody else's rear end in my movement. Yeah.
It's for the movement, Tim.
This is called a rock and a hard spot. And
this is called a gun controller and a rock. Yeah. Well, this is where, honestly, this is some good language from this article. Quote, it just so flies in the face of the common use test, talking about the AR bans. Modern guns are protected. All the things that have been reiterated through previous Supreme Court precedent. I think this thing is just so bad, they're going to take it. Okay, so that's talking about the SCOTUS, right? This is the next one. This is number 5. Maryland's gun ban decision was on final judgment. Vandermike said that's just what Thomas was looking for, Clarence Thomas. He said they wanted a case that was done on the merits with a record. Here, they've got a record. Genuinely. That's as simple as it is. They needed the vehicle to do it. They found the vehicle. They needed a final court judgment. They got the final court judgment. It conflicts with existing judgments in other districts. Also something the SCOTUS needs to pick up. And now you've got the final case going forward. Yeah. Bro, this could be the one.
It could be. It'll be interesting. Oh, and they invoke the name of Thomas. That'll make the left happy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The Antichrist himself.
Yep, they hate him. The left tried to destroy him when he was being appointed to the Supreme Court decades ago.
Joe Biden did that.
I know. They literally went. I mean, he himself, Clarence Thomas, said this is a modern day digital lynching that they're doing to me. And
he said that. Yeah.
And it's absolutely, they were drumming up all sorts of false information about him, lies about him, doing anything they could to keep him off the bench. And then you fast forward a few decades, and they're right back at it. Yeah. Oh, poor Thomas.
Cute. It's not cute what they're doing to him, but I mean that Bruin decision though, like, oh baby,
yeah, that's the linchpin to all this.
That's the linchpin. That's the nice little top dressing. That is the keystone. That's the one right on top. # we need Pennsylvania. Anyway, Keystone State joke, Tim.
I caught that. I did.
Well, I had to explain it in case someone missed it. I did it so quick. I was speaking like Tim Walz in his military career Oh, anyway. Now let's wrap this up with the ramifications of this, Tim. Let's just say SCOTUS takes it up before they even make a ruling. On a scale of 0 to 10, what's the freak out level for Everytown for gun safety and Moms Demand Action? What do you think? Like 100?
I don't know. I don't think they're like, I just don't think they're intelligent enough to be scared. I don't know. I mean, because they keep doing it to themselves. I mean, they're pushing for this nonsense, and they're part of the problem for their own agenda, because they're the ones that are helping to slam the doors in their own faces. So I don't know if they even are smart enough to be scared about what's to happen to them. We'll see. I mean, the Supreme Court hasn't picked it up yet, but if they do, I'm really certain they're going to decide in our favor.
I feel really strongly about it, just on the merits by itself. The Bruin decision, the Heller decision, the Cargill decision, the actual Second Amendment outside the NFA. Like, there's so much. If this gets into a SCOTUS courtroom,
this will shut down so much. Oh
my God! Like, you might as well just turn the power off at every time for gun safety, because this is their main moneymaker right here. This is all.
Oh, they'll still rail against it,
fundraising.
And, and then they'll.
No, of course, but if they can't actually do anything.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying they're going away, but I'm saying they won't be able to work on electricity because that would be a damning thing.
Yeah, about the only thing they can hope for then is a Harris presidency where and they get the House and the Senate,
they stack the court,
and they start messing with the court, they start messing with the Electoral College, they start banning firearms legislatively, which the Supreme Court's a little bit more apprehensive to get involved in overturning Congress.
Correct.
They might, in the case of the Second Amendment, we don't know, but we already know that that's kind of a gray area for them. So, I mean, this election cycle is absolutely critical, folks, because it isn't hyperbolic for me to say that Harris definitely wants to mess with the Electoral College. Harris definitely wants to jack with the Supreme Court. Harris definitely wants to take your guns away and initiate a confiscation scheme. And she has even gone so far as to threaten to do that outside of the legislative process and do it with executive orders. She is dead serious about destroying our constitutional rights. And this election cycle is absolutely going to be critical to all this, because if she gets in and gets the House and the Senate, we're in trouble. The entire country's in trouble.
The entire country will be in trouble, but also keep in mind, as a objective fact, the thing in that worst case scenario, let's say they take the Senate with a majority, let's say they take, which is unlikely but can happen, or they take the House, which fine, and they take that White House, they would have to remove the filibuster to do anything. The filibuster is the one thing that you watch there. If that filibuster were to go away, and you can mark me down right now, this is August 12th. If the filibuster goes away and you've got those simple majorities and they're blue and you got that White House,
it's going to be ugly. And let me also say that the left has had a real problem with the filibuster, because it's been used to frustrate their gun grabbing schemes and everything else they've been trying to do. So they may see this as their only opportunity. If they do get control of the White House, the House and the Senate, they may say, you know what, let's go nuclear on this one. Let's take the nuclear option, because this is our one and only chance at accomplishing our goal here. And they may very well nuke the filibuster. And
that would backfire on them so hard.
But they don't care. They've done it before, and they'll do it again. It's just a matter of when. So they are so amped up and they're so animated right now. They really think that they're on top of the world. They have all the political capital in the world, and it's that type of thinking that they think they're going to get away with something like that. So it's a very dangerous time. And I don't think most people don't understand politics, and most people don't dive into them past the propaganda the media spews at them. And so whatever the hot talking point of the day is, that kind of affects the vast majority of the voters out there. The people are sheep. I mean, that's just what they do. They don't look into anything. They turn on the news, they get a 10-second sound bite, and that programs them to think, oh, that must be true because I saw it on CNN. And so then they go vote because of what propaganda they've been force fed. Right. So we don't have a nation of thinkers. We have a nation of sheep that follow propaganda, and whoever has the most money and can spew the most propaganda can generally sway an election one way or the other. And
turn public opinion is really what you're talking about.
And there is awful lot of propaganda money being spent.
Oh my God! Right now, hundreds of millions of dollars. You want to see that propaganda in action? Open up Twitter.
Yeah.
Because right now, holy God,
it is bombarded. You never see this much Marxist junk on Twitter. It is everywhere. And why is it everywhere? It's all paid for. And that's one key difference between what the Republicans do in social media and the Democrats do. The Democrats funnel millions of dollars into paying influencers to repeat the same nonsense over and over and over again every day, because that's propaganda, and it really does work. The Republicans just rely on folks that believe in their ideology to repeat their messages. So, the cat turds of the world and all that stuff out there, they're not being paid by the Republican Party to post their stuff. But the JoJos and the Brooklyn Dad and the Harry Sisons of the world,
100%
they're
paid.
absolutely paid.
Fact,
They've admitted
verifiable.
it. They brought the receipts. There's pictures of them and the receipts of their payments. It is a fact. And so that is paid propaganda, folks. And that's what we're combating right now. She has a massive war chest, and they are dumping that money into propaganda, and it's working. They're calling it the honeymoon period, but it's the propaganda period. They're manufacturing.
That's a much better term. Yep. That is a much better term.
They're manufacturing literally a Manchurian candidate. This is the most unpopular woman in the history of vice presidents. And somehow she became the most promising Democrat candidate. Nobody, when they were talking about kicking Biden to the curb, was mentioning her name. Newsom and Michelle Obama.
They went around their effort to say anyone but her name.
Right. They totally had nothing. They wanted nothing to do with her. Matter of fact, they would post online that maybe this will be the end of her political career. Finally, they don't want anything to do with her. And then Biden got stabbed in the back. He's out there talking about that now, saying basically he didn't even write his resignation letter.
He said it. He said it.
Yes. And we said that, and we were called, propagandists and liars and all this other stuff, fake news. He said it. And so, I mean, the truth is slowly trickling out. But but he stabbed them in the back. When they stabbed him in the back, he turned right around and returned the favor to Pelosi and Schumer, who forced him out of the race. And he's like, I support my VP. And they were like,
But you know what's so interesting? But you know what's
they
so
wanted an open
convention.
convention.
Now that I'm thinking about this, they honestly, they should have done an open convention. They should have, politically, strategically. But anyway, now that I'm thinking about it, okay, hold on, game this out with me. Right, this is a little bonus episode at the end of this. I didn't think we were going to do this. So in your scenario that you just laid out, Biden absolutely, it was like you get me out? Well, then I'm going to nominate Harris without you knowing. Yep. And then, like you said, they all went, oh my God. Yeah. And they went, oh, sweet Lord. And so then that happens, right? 3 weeks of full-on propaganda, and it starts reflecting in the polls. Then he comes out last night, and he openly says the Democrat Party kicked me out of power, and they wrote... Does it really feel like Biden's trying to undermine something here?
Oh, there's speculation going on out there that he's going to make an appearance at the convention here, and then say, "Hey, they forced me out. I want back in," which isn't going to happen. It's too late.
That's not going to happen.
He wouldn't be on the ballot.
But the point is, you can do so much damage.
Yeah.
To the Democrats and to Harris by saying, they stole this from me. You know how much damage that would do?
I will guarantee you right now, there's a bunch of panic phone calls in D.C. like saying, "Shut him up." He's going to destroy everything.
He said that on CNN.
I know.
All Trump has to do is play his own clips.
And what's so funny is you look back on all the paid propagandists like Harry Sison. I'm riding with Biden to the end. He's our candidate.
Riding with Biden till the end.
I love this man. He's so sincere. JoJo the moron posted, I cried when he resigned because he did so much selfless acts for the good of the people. He stepped aside for democracy. Like, no, sweetie, it happened just like we said it did. He was forced from power. The man you were riding with Biden, you loved so much that you cried when he resigned. You stabbed him in the back, too. With friends like you, sweetie, he doesn't need any enemies. Brutus.
It's so right. It's so funny that the Times came out soon after that with a drawing of the Roman Senate with Biden, Pelosi, Obama, and all of them have like knives in him.
Yeah.
And then a day later, Kamala Harris is sitting on a dung beetle pile. It's like, oh my God, it's Camelot. Oh God in heaven. Get us out of here. We're going down a rabbit trail.
Yeah, we have. I mean, guys, just get registered and vote. It's going to be so critically important this time around.
Please, God. Please, God, do it.
Thanks for watching Second Legacy. We'll talk to you guys soon.